Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the slightly unhinged marketing podcast for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, also known as the Pixel Wizard, and my goal is to tackle the tough stuff that goes in behind the scenes in marketing and offer actionable tips, creative insights, and a little bit of humor to spark some creativity. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, or welcome if you are new. We have a very special topic today I'm super excited about and a guest. So today we are talking about mental grit, dedication, and really owning your superpowers, especially while you're building a personal brand. And I have Cory Charles here with me today. I am so excited to talk to him, and I'm sure everybody already knows him. But Cory has just launched into this industry, has just made such a huge impact. He is the founder of the Superhero Mindset. He's a leadership coach, he's a sales trainer, and just a fantastic speaker. I've gotten to listen to you speak several times now. And I don't want to give away all the secrets, Cory, but I want to give you a chance to also introduce yourself. So tell the people who you are, what you're excited about, and what you do.
Sarah, that's the best paid ad I've ever spent money on. So thank you for that. You made me sound so special and awesome. Yeah, you nailed it. I've started the superhero mindset with intention to really punch the industry in the face. Pardon my language, but there was just a lot of clones out there doing the same thing that we've been doing for 20, 30, 40 years. And I'm built a little different. So I decided to jump out here and really shake some things up because there are amazing people that do what we do in our world of all different facets of the business that aren't necessarily able to tap into the things that make them great. I call them superpowers, or just living in their own authentic, awesome skin. And I'm here to just make people be that best version of themselves. And to do that, sometimes you got to lead. So I got to show up in my pink and my blue and my yellow and my purple and all kinds of crazy colors. But most importantly, I just want to be myself and have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, you do that so well. And obviously, like your style is makes you stand out by everybody else.
Hard to miss me, yeah.
Yes, and luckily we're do video for this podcast too. So if you're listening on the audio only, come over to YouTube because he looks fantastic. And I cannot let the introduction go without talking about your recent TED Talk. I was so excited to see that on LinkedIn. How did it go? How can we find it? Tell me all about it.
So as of this recording, as of today, I think it should be ready to be uploaded within the next couple weeks. Fingers crossed. The team is working diligently to get it all beautified and ready to go. It will be everywhere because I'm going to spam everyone that is in existence. So you'll see it a lot. I'm really proud of it. It's one of those things that's been a labor of love for almost a year now, which is such a crazy process. And I have famously said this, that I thought for me, getting a TEDx was a 3 to 5 year goal. And literally, I was just like, man, if I can just get an understanding of the process, I'll be so blessed. And then to get the letter of, no, you've been selected and we want to have you actually do it was so many emotions mixed into one. And I'm still coming down off of the adrenaline dump of the last couple days. But it was such an amazing experience. And not only that, but to be around such other amazing speakers. And then for me, it was the ability to just let the message live through me and take my own fear and insecurity and self-doubt and imposter syndrome, take that off the table and just let the message flow through me, which was a great process to be a part of. And I'm excited that everyone's going to get to see it. I'll be nervous, a nervous wreck when it drops, just because that's in my DNA. But I hope people take something special out of it when it does drop.
I'm sure they will. I am so excited to listen to it. I'm sure like it's always on YouTube. So like you said, like we filmed these in advance. So I'm sure it's on YouTube already by now and go check it out. So I was just so excited to see that when you announced it. So as we're moving into the episode, all of our new guests, if as one of our listeners, we do our unhinged rapid fire questions. So these are totally random. I just want to get to know you a little bit better and also try to get some of my own nerves out for this podcast. So my very first unhinged question for you is I want to know what is one song that's guaranteed to put you in a great mood if you're just need a little bit of a boost.
Oh man, there are a lot, but I'll just keep it to one in the essence of time. Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal. Everything through the video as a kid, seeing that to just the whole vibe, that's my jam. If I need one that's going to get me going, it's Smooth Criminal. Number two is probably a Queen song, any one of the Queen songs. There's a million that I could pick from there, but yeah, Smooth Criminal is the one that does it
It's a
10 times
classic.
out of 10.
For sure, a classic. That's awesome. Yeah, I have a whole playlist, but it's funny because I asked that question. I love asking that question, but I never know what to answer because I have a million of them. And I don't know, like probably Bruno Mars for me, but I don't know. So,
Situational, right? Sometimes you need something in the right moment and something in the right time, right?
yeah. Okay. I love that answer. Okay. So, second question. What is the best piece of career advice that you've ever received from a mentor or just anyone? What would you say would be like the most transformational advice you've received?
Oh man, I've been blessed to have a lot of great advice from a lot of great mentors. I'm a mentor collector, but the number one that stands out is from my mentor still currently, and she hates when I say this, but Abby Murata, who's been an amazing person in my life. But she told me early on, I brought you into this world to be you. So be you. I don't need you to be somebody else or what you think you need to be. I brought you here to be you. So just be you, but crank it up a little bit. So that's been my guiding principles from a very early time in this business is that I'm always just going to show up as me, and some people are going to love it. It may not be for everyone, but it's not about everyone, right? It's about trying to make sure that I can deliver a message to the people that really need it.
Yeah, that's such amazing advice. And I think people get into their own heads about it. I have to be this thing. That's what everybody wants or whatever. And it's hard. And sometimes it's scary to like just be you. But I think when you make it a brand like yours and that stands out so well, that's the secret sauce. So
Scary
love it.
sometimes, but
Oh, so scary. So scary. All right. Number three, if you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
oh man, people that know me will know this. I my gut wants to say sushi, but that would make me sick probably. But I'm a old school steak and potatoes guy. If you can give me a well prepared steak and some mashed potatoes, I'm good to go. So
Mm,
that would be the one. We got to end it probably with some pineapple upside down cake, and I'm perfect.
yum. Yeah. You can't beat a steak, but I also would agree. Like I would probably say sushi and I would just be sick all the time because it's just so good.
I think they by day three we're having a problem.
Yeah, probably.
Although all that
Uh,
red meat's probably not good for you either. So
I don't know. Those people on like the carnivore diets, they seem to like it.
see,
So
there you go, science.
maybe. All right, last one. What is a skill or hobby you'd pursue if time and money wasn't an issue?
Oh man, part of me thinks I'm like, I think I was a marketer in a past life because I just get geeked out over marketing so much. But something highly just irregular and dangerous. I really love like auto racing. I think I'd be like an F1 driver or something,
Oh my
but
gosh.
that is probably the most dangerous career there is.
Oh my
But
gosh, that's so many thrills. I don't think I could handle
yes, sometimes I think I'm a past professional wrestler though, because it comes across. If you've seen me, you have seen me. But if anyone else seen me speak, and my stage persona is very much in the vein of a old school professional wrestler. So maybe that's my gig. I should have went down that path.
so it's either marketing or professional wrestling,
One of the
like
two.
either one. Yeah, makes total sense. I'm gonna say same. No, I that's so funny. I think I've got like a million hobbies, and so I think I could just like skip from hobby to hobby for my entire life and just be the happiest ever. So that's like an impossible question. Right now, my hobby is crocheting, and I've just crocheted like a million things.
I
So
love that. I'm gonna need a little crochet lightning bolts when you get a chance.
that little pin, that would be cute. I could totally do that. Right now, I'm making stuffed animals for my kids, and I've got like 1,500 of them. It's been
Holy
like
smokes.
like they're everywhere now. All right, let's get into the episode. Like I said in the beginning, we're talking about personal branding, but more of just like your story and how to create that like electric presence. So I want to talk about what people don't see. Like you're in the spotlight all the time. Everyone has this idea of who Cory Charles is, what your brand is, but what happens behind the scenes is so important and it's not something that everyone talks about. And I always like to start with an origin story, which totally stalked your website and you have that on there too. So I was like, sweet, put that right
You're
into the
speaking my
agenda.
language now.
Yes. So tell me what's your origin story? What's the backstory that brought you here to have this brand in this industry, all the good stuff?
I will give you the short version because it's a long version, but the short version is that I was just a below average kid, if I'm being really transparent. I didn't do great at school. I could do good on the tests, but my ADHD brain didn't do well with schoolwork or sitting in my seat or not talking. So I just struggled my way through school, and I was definitely not the person that you would pick out and say, "Oh, that's going to be a salesperson." That is for so far from what my personality was, and I just like a lot of things in life, stumbled into sales by accident as a college kid that needed to make some money. And it's something that changed my world. But what I learned through that is not only could I struggle as a child, but I could struggle in sales as well. But the reason why I was struggling was really simple, is because I was given this really strict sales process that just didn't speak my language. It didn't speak to my personality. It just wasn't me. And even though I was told that's the way we do it, I was just like, I'm struggling with this verbiage so much. And once I finally was able to get through the hump by just getting really good at all the other things, I realized, man, there's got to be other people like me that are in this same role that are trying to, again, wear this mask that's not their own, wear this costume that doesn't fit. And that's exactly what I was doing, is wearing a costume that wasn't my personality, and it was never going to resonate at a high level. And once I figured out that, and I said, oh, cool. So how can I help other people figure that out and figure out what real looks like for them in their process, and what does great look like for them? Was a great journey. And then that transformed into, oh, well, if I can help salespeople, maybe I can help leaders too. And then it was like, oh, if I can help leaders, maybe I can help folks in marketing or online sales, and it just exploded into this idea of wanting to help people be the best version of themselves, whether that's in their personal lives or in their work lives, because these are conversations that we don't have. We talked about it earlier. You're expected to show up at work and be the person in this box. And I'm like, what happens if the people that show up to work are totally authentic? They're the best version of themselves, and they're bringing that person to work every day. That's a recipe for some amazing things. So that became my new mission, is to help people tap into that. Number one, I like to consider myself the lightning bolt that sparks that. But two, how do I get you to live that every single day, whether it's at home with your kids, whether it's with your spouse? And again, the place that we never talk about it is at work. So that's the origin of how I got to this place of really just wanting to make a huge impact in people's lives. I'm sneaking in through the professional door, but I hope to make change all across your lives.
That's so amazing and such an important mission. And people, like you said, like they have this idea of how they're supposed to be and what your career is supposed to look like. And it's funny because they'll say, oh, yeah, obviously I'm me. But like really truly being your authentic self, it just feels different. And
Yes.
like I think there's a lot of people that they think that's what they're doing and it's not. And like when you actually make that breakthrough, it's so incredible. Like I can't imagine you get to see that each day. That's so cool.
It's funny, and you'll realize when you get there. And I think the first time that we met in person, you were one of the folks. I get a lot of people that see me or meet me in person. They go, "Oh, you're the same." And I go, "Yeah, I'm not wearing a costume, and not anymore. Now, I don't want to disparage anyone, because I wore a costume for 15 years professionally, so I get it. But when people see me show up today, they're like, "Oh, you're the same." Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but it's very much what you see online is what you in person. I'm just showing up as me constantly, which takes away the strain of having to be other. If I can show up as, hey, this is what you get, like it or leave it, without being too outlandish, it makes life easier for me. And then I can concentrate on how can I get better at the things that I'm really good at.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. You're absolutely the exact same in person as you are when you're speaking or when you're on podcasts. And I think when I realized that, like I was wearing a mask, because I was definitely one of those people, I was like, no, this is just who I am. Like I just show up the same. And I really thought I was. And then my kids actually saw me working one day and they could not stop laughing. They're like, Mom, who are you right now? They're like, that's not how you talk. They're like, that's not you. And I was like, what are you talking about? That's just my work voice or whatever. But I really opened my eyes. I was like, man, like I was putting on a show.
Yeah.
And I still do. I'm not perfect. So like that still happens all the time. But like when someone like your kids like tell you, like, Mom, what are you doing? You're like, man, eye opener. Dang.
Exactly. The kids have this way of just giving you the truth, whether you ask for it or not, right?
Yes, they're very honest. All right, you built this brand and you like show up as yourself every single day and there's so much like behind the scenes that doesn't get shown and that we don't always talk about. So, what do you feel like is the hardest part of being that face of this brand that is like preaching authenticity all the time and like you're showing up so like vulnerable, like how I would perceive is very vulnerable. What is the hardest part of doing that?
Well, you nailed it, because that vulnerability is, I think, it's probably been the latest evolution of who I am and how I show up is being willing. I think I've always been okay tapping into, especially as a sales trainer. I've always been the one that tapped into, hey, here's what I was really bad at when I was on the sales floor. Because I see a lot of sales trainers, and I don't want to knock anyone, but a lot of sales trainers show up to the model or show up to the sales office and they talk about how awesome they are and how they did things great for 10, 20, 30 years and they're perfect. And I'm like, I ain't never seen that. So I don't know where that came from. I'm all about, hey, listen, here's the things I did great, but more importantly, here's the things that you don't want to do because I did this and I was very bad at it. And now I've learned things and I can help you get past that. So that's always been my methodology as a sales trainer. But I think the deeper level is being willing to share the things that I've always kept really close to the vest, which it's funny because you share certain things and you think you're open and then you realize that there's a layers. Okay, I'm open up until this point, and then no
Mhm.
one's getting in there. And that's been the new evolution is letting people into the all the totality of my world and what that looks like, which again is another ability to let me show up authentically because the days that I ain't got it or the days that ADHD is kicking my butt, I can say that,
Yeah.
where it's got me in 1,000 different places. I can say that and I can say that honestly and authentically, and it's not jarring to people. And I can just be the real me, which is such a relief, especially in a professional setting, because we hold back so much stuff and then it explodes in the wrong situations or to the wrong people. So that's been almost my free therapy, I should call it.
Yeah. I call that the like marketing version of everything. Like you put a little polish on it and it's true, but it's not really the whole truth. And it's easy because you can show up a long time like that and people
Yeah.
will think that you're really authentic, but that's where the superpower is when you like break through that. Um,
You nailed it because I thought I was doing that forever. I was like, oh no, I'm super authentic. And now I've even seen in my interactions, even people I've never physically met, they're like, I feel like I know you. It's because, yeah, I'm showing up, as I said at IBS, I'm showing up naked and that this is what you get. So that allows me to connect with people in a different way that I wasn't able to before because there was still that, even though it was a thin wall, there was still a wall there. And now
yeah.
we're working on chipping that thing down.
Yeah. Do you feel like ever people like push back or there's like a like an awkwardness there when you do start to drop that polished appearance? Have you ever had any like weird situations?
Yeah, I don't know of any specific weird situations, but I know, again, one of the things that helped me take this leap, which felt very daring and scary when I was thinking this whole process out and what my brand was going to be, was I just knew people weren't going to get it and people weren't going to like it and people weren't going to connect to it. And I just had to be okay with that. And for me, my whole life, that's something I was never okay with. I tried to please everyone and tried to be in a space where I could make everyone happy. And once I realized that, number one, that is not attainable. And number two, it's not even healthy, even if it was attainable. That helped me really relax and say, you know what? Some people are going to look at my brand and say, too much, too loud, too out there. And that's okay. Some people are going to look at the pink suit and say, I would never. And that's okay too. And that's okay too. And as long as I'm okay with the backside of that, then it
Mhm.
helps me really step into taking more chances, being bold, and doing what others consider risky because I'm not putting myself at risk. I'm just understanding that, hey, I'm just not for everyone. And that's
Mhm.
the most freeing feeling. If I could give anyone that's listening, is letting go of that idea that you have to be for everyone. Whew, once that goes away, life is so good.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I feel that in my soul because that's me too. I'm like, I'm a people pleaser. Like I want everyone to be happy. And the fear is if I'm too authentic, like people are gonna be like, whoa, Sarah, that's just too much. Like bottle that shit up because like that was a lot. And like that, I think it's just like it's such a deep fear of I don't want you to crush that thing. That's
Yeah.
that vulnerable part of me. So it holds a lot of people back. I'm sure I'm not the only one to have that, but
I had a good friend of mine and a mutual friend of ours, so I won't say their name, but in kind of the space that we're in. And when I first launched the brand, they're like, I don't get it. You know, what, like the colors and it's really loud and like, I don't understand it. And I said, yeah, it's a chance, but it's me. And I know I can do that consistently. And then we flash forward probably a year, 2 years later, and they're like, I get it. It's just, y- y- it pops up on the screen. Like it just explodes off the screen in a space where everyone else looks the same. It just explodes off the screen. And that was always not that it was a tactic, but it was just like, this is who I am. And it happens to be a benefit that I'm quirky and weird and different and like these things because people really connect to it, I think, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people, they're not going to get it. And that's actually a good thing because that means you're doing something different. And a lot of people are so scared of doing something different and they don't want to use the colors for their brand that, everyone else, doesn't already have. And they just want to keep in that safety zone. And especially when you're starting, I feel like when people don't get it, that's actually like thumbs up, like you're doing something right. Because if everyone understands it instantly and everyone's, oh, yeah, you're just like this other guy,
Yep.
then you're just like that guy. Like you're not you. And I think what your brand stands for is you. So why shouldn't it look like you? Like it's just like
Absolutely.
it's so obvious when you say it out loud, but at the same time, I've done the same thing. I've looked at people and I'm like, why do they use that color? Like, why is that their logo? But like when you dig a little bit deeper, it all starts to make sense.
It's funny. I have one of the most amazing brand coaches in the world, Kate Ladon, and she started on my journey even before I started the business. And I told her I have this idea of what I think the business could be, but I think it's probably too out there. And she just looked me dead in the face and said, "Listen, if you're going to do this idea," she never told me if it was right or wrong. She just said, "If you're going to do this idea that you have, then do it. Don't half-ass it, do it,"
Mhm.
because it is obviously my brand is not something that you can baby step around. You just got to commit. And that's basically what she told me is if this is what you feel passionate about, then do it and do it the real way and the gifts will come. And she's which is so spot on about that. And I try to give her as much credit as I can because that was the little bit of push that I needed to say, okay, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it all the way.
Yeah. Oh, she's incredible. I've followed her work for a long time. And yeah, she's absolutely right. It's those really safe brands where, and I'm not really talking about like a corporate company because the bigger your company gets, your mission changes, your core values change.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different. But like you're the only one in your company right now, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
And yep, and you're branding yourself. Like you are the one that people are going to come that they're going to see when you show up, like it's you there. You build a lot of trust by showing the same. I think that's where even larger companies they start losing trust with their customers is they see something online, they see something on social, they see this in their emails, they're getting this whole marketing version, and then when they show up to the model home or they show up wherever, it's different somehow. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Wait a minute, is this even the right place? Like this it doesn't connect." And you don't forget that.
The fastest sales killers, and it's a lot of times it's subconscious. The buyer doesn't even realize why it feels so off, but it's that psychological disconnect of I saw one thing online, I'm getting a totally different experience. What else is going on here that I don't know about? And then
Yep.
that's going to make them run for the hills. And I see it all the time in models. I see it all the time, even outside of our industry. There's definitely a big disconnect with how we show up versus who we really are and how we really present in person in real life.
Yep. Yeah. And when you're working in a bigger company or when you're in marketing, like it's communicating all of those things to your team and really getting that buy-in that's so important because people are not going to tell you. It is a subconscious thing that happens. They make all of these decisions. They're judging you all the time. And like when you break that trust, it's very difficult to get that back
Oh
because
yeah.
now they're like leery of you.
That's an
So
uphill battle you don't want to fight.
oh, for sure, for sure. And it's the same but different when you're building a personal brand. You got to think about it the same way. So, branding decisions like what you wear and the colors that you choose and what your website looks like and how you show up on social is so important. And I think people start to understand that as they're building personal brands, and then it becomes very overwhelming. They're like, oh my gosh, every little thing is this most amazing or the most important decision I've ever made. So I don't know if you felt like that
Oh
before
yeah.
as you're building your brand. So how do you get around that? Like how do you work through that and keep with your mission, but not get overwhelmed by being the face and having to do it all?
Well, you're talking to the guy that will literally spend 6 hours selecting the right font. So yeah, I can get caught up in these things that don't necessarily matter as much as at least I think they do. So that's one thing is understanding where your strengths are. I would never say that I have a good eye for design, but I definitely have an eye for what I want the brand to be and what I want it to feel like. And I take that really seriously. And as much as my old boss gives me grief about that because she's okay, you're spending way too much time on the things that are pretty. I'm like, yeah, but they make me feel good. But more importantly, it's understanding that this is what I want the brand to represent and how I want it to show up. So for me, that's something that's difficult for me to give away because I give it to someone else and they don't have the same kind of inner fire when it comes to the brand, but also knowing I may not be good at necessarily building a website or all the other 80 things that go into running a business and understanding if I can live in my strengths and have other folks help out where it's needed, that can help the business go. And as this thing grows and expands, then there's more room for that. But anyone that touches the things that are really close to my heart, branding and how the company shows up, it's still got to touch my hands. If it's a word that's written online, it's got to go through my hands. If it's an image, if it's a picture, if it's anything, it's got to go through my hands because until I can figure out how to clone myself, there's just no one that's gonna know, okay, that's it. But there's a lot of other things that can go into the business that I don't necessarily need to live in 24/7. And I think that was probably early days. One of my first failings was trying to do every single thing at 100 miles an hour, and it's nothing's getting done. Nothing's
Yeah.
getting done. So I try to live in my realm of I struggle to say genius, but I live in the realm of the things that I feel really passionate about and the things that I think that I can do, and either use technology to help out with the rest or bring in the right people that understand a couple things. You have to understand my story and why I'm doing what I'm doing. You have to understand the vision of where I want this to go. And you have to understand my mission. Why do I wake up to do this every single day? I want to see people be great. And if you can understand those three things, then you can speak or act through whatever the media that we need to get done or whatever the part of the business that needs to get done. You can act as if, but of course, it still touches my hands first just to make sure.
Yeah, no, I think you said a lot of things that I like want to touch
Story of
on.
my life.
So first one is like you said you spend a lot of time on the pretty aspects and like that's really important. But what you didn't say there in that is that you're spending a lot of time on those pretty things because there is a strategy behind it. It's not just you sitting on Canva for 12 hours making things, right? Like you're not just randomly doing it. There's a strategy behind it. You have a mission and that needs to go into everything. So that's why it's hard to let go of.
Yeah.
It's because like you have to communicate all of that to another person in order to allow that the outcome to be what you're looking for. And I definitely think a lot of people struggle with that just in general, whether you're building a personal brand, wherever you are, like communicating all of those things to another person it's a lot. And then the designers, they end up like becoming mind readers because they're like, okay, you're saying this, but you actually mean this other thing. And sometimes that can cause disconnects. So it's definitely difficult adding people. I know from my own experience building a business, I did every single thing. And I even had separate email addresses for myself as different people because I was like, I want it to seem like I'm more than one person. So I
There's
was
the of us in here.
right. Yeah. Just a lot of Sarahs at this company. She only hired Sarahs. But you have a ton of different roles. And like I've realized real quick, accounting's not one of my strengths. Hate it. Like such a
Guilty.
toxic, like horrible. So you do have to let things go
Yeah.
and it, like be strategic with those things. But it isn't impossible. Even the things that you're like, this is my strength. I love to design on Canva. Like it's not impossible to bring someone else in, but it is like a struggle sometimes. So I wonder if you have any advice for like marketers or designers that are trying to work with people like you, like high energy, high visibility, like you're super passionate, like what would be something that they could do to make that a little bit easier for you so that you feel better like handing off like this design or whatever to them?
Yeah, I think, and we touched on it, right? It's understanding, okay, where was this idea born? Whatever the idea is, if I'm working with a writer or a copy person or someone that's working on design elements, where was this idea born? What's the overall goal? What does, if I could wave a magic wand and make this your perfect vision, what does that look like to you? And sometimes just the act of having that conversation opens up whole new avenues for people. I've gone through that with folks where I'm just like, us having this dialogue has made me rethink what this looks like and what I envision this to be, just this dialogue. So I think being open to having the dialogue and seeing where the road goes, and but also understanding for me, if I come up with an idea, Sarah, and I'm like, okay, this is my next talk or this is my next workshop and I am in love with it, the first thing I run to do is go make a logo. I know it sounds backwards, but once for me, the process of creating that really helps me flesh out what this new little pocket universe looks like. And that to me helps anyone that's going to be a part of this process. I think on the other side of the fence for the folks that are coming in, the marketers, the designers that are coming in, it's being willing to, if the person doesn't have that fleshed out, being willing to ask the questions to help them flesh out what that looks like. That only is going to help you because, like you said, sometimes people have an idea in their head until they say it out loud and they're like, oh, that was a dumbass idea. It sounds way better when you say it. So just helping people have that dialogue and really communicate. And again, I think it's always great to not only know where we came from, but hey, what does this look like? And when we get to the end of the road, what does this look like? What is best case scenario for you? What is the greatest of great look like in this thing that we're doing? And let's figure out how to get there. And then we just break it down into chunks. If it's little pieces that we have to do to get there, that's the process. But it's always staying close to the, like I said before, the origin, where did it come from, the mission and the vision. If we can keep those three things close to the chest as we create, as we work, as we build, life's pretty easy. It's not perfect, but it's pretty easy.
Yeah. And any marketer should know those things. Like if you were to ask them, tell me those three things, like they should be able to just rattle it off. So I definitely agree, like asking questions and working on the communication between you and whoever, you're working with, because especially when you get with larger companies, you're going to have a lot of different voices, and taking all of that in, ask as many questions as you can. And then for all of the salespeople or the owners or the founders or whatever, like it does take some effort. You have to communicate and you have to go back and revise it and understand that marketers want to make you happy. So we're not trying to like just do our own thing over here. Like we want to make you happy. We want to make that vision come to life. It might take a couple times. It might take some tweaks, but that doesn't mean that we just don't get it. And it's just like
Well,
totally over.
it's like what we say with AI, right? Good data in, good data out. Same thing. The better information I can give my marketer or my creative person, the better information is going to come out. If it's not what I envision, chances are the fault lies with me. And it's because I didn't describe it the way that was giving them enough tools to create something that I at least saw. And through that process, the marketer's going to inform me when things don't make sense. If I tell you, hey, Sarah, I want my new logo to be purple and doo-doo brown, you're gonna be like, hey, man, probably not a good idea. And then we got to talk about that. And there may be some examples of that color scheme, so don't hold me to that. But you get what I'm saying. That's where your job comes in, to smooth around the edges and say, hey, listen, here's where my expertise comes in. I know you think that's a great idea, but let's talk through that and really explore it. And if you still feel that way, let's get on the rocket ship and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Generally, people don't just make decisions for no reason. So there's usually something behind there, like that purple means something to you. And
Yep.
let's figure out what that is, and whether that means that the brand is actually going to be purple and brown at the end, or if maybe we could show that a different way. So sharing the vision behind it and the goals behind it and why you think that this is the direction is so important, because it doesn't mean, if we change direction, it doesn't mean your marketer thinks it's wrong, because there is probably some really successful brand out there or campaign that use that exact same thing. We want to make your vision shine as bright as we can, and we want to make it as real as possible. And when it's all in your own head, it's a little bit easier to categorize it. But like when you start talking about it, then it's a little bit different. The process is different. I know a lot of, like, I've been told a lot of times, they're like, oh, I just need you just to read my mind. It's okay. So in order for me to do that, you got to start talking, like say more words, because that's really the key.
That should be just a sign you have that says say more words. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to talk about unlocking your superpowers, because you mentioned that a little bit before. And I know a lot of it is just like fear and overwhelm, and it just takes a little bit of that click. There's that moment that everybody like has when they break out of it and they're like, wow, that was it. So what's one thing that you feel like you could give someone, like a mindset shift, that they could make like today to kind of help them get just a little bit closer to that moment?
Oh, great. So many things. Number one of our kind of given abilities that we all have that we very seldom utilize is the superpower of choice. And that's one that we have to understand that no matter what our origin story is, no matter where we came from, no matter what circumstances we were brought up in or what cards we were dealt, none of that matters today. Yeah, that was part of the story, but you have a choice to write a whole new chapter. So that's the first thing is we make a series of choices every single day. Every choice we make matters. It's understanding that you have the ability to make choices and you don't have to follow the narrative that has led you up to today. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is we get so caught up on fear. And again, I say this with love because I lived in this space for many years. I won't say how many because then people guess how old I am, but many years I lived in this place of fear, especially fear of failure, being someone that failed a lot in my youth, growing up, being really scared of failing anymore. It's like I can't take another failure. But understanding the big shift is that failure is not your enemy. And I think most people see it as the boogeyman and I'm going to fail and the world's going to come crashing down. When we start to see failure as a teacher, it changes everything because there's always a lesson in every failure. And now failures become something that I don't know that we run towards them, but we embrace them as part of the learning process and as something that we can use as a catalyst for growth. So I would say those two things is number one, don't run from the things that you could fail at because one, you may be wrong. Number two, if you're right and you fail, you're probably going to learn a lesson if you're smart. And two, it may actually be redirecting you to where you should be versus where you think you need to be. And then always utilizing that superpower of choice, that ability to say, yeah, I came from that upbringing. That was my origin story. It was bad. It was terrible, but I'm going to write a totally different story that is actually awesome. And now how do I get there? And that's the cool thing that I think is something I try to breathe every day and I try to share with as many people as possible because, man, those origin stories hold us back big time. But we can decide. Yeah, that was the story. Cool. But today is a whole new chapter. And how am I going to get to where I want to get to?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's so powerful. Yeah, I think that could help like almost every single person on the planet.
I hope so.
Because like we all have like origin stories that kind of sucked. Like there are very few people out there that are like my childhood was perfect. I have zero trauma. Like we all
Really
have
rare.
super rare. I haven't met any of them. They might be out there and more power to them. But yeah, I read somewhere, I don't remember where I read this, but I say it to my kids all the time now. Anything that's scary, that's just an opportunity for you to be brave. And
Yes.
like that outcome after you've been brave feels so good. Like you just conquered this thing. And I want to give that to my kids. That's what I'm always telling them. I want to give you that feeling of having been brave and having won. So you have to just try, just take one step. So my thing I always say is just that first step's the hardest. Just do that one today.
I love
And
that.
so that's my like one thing, but I think that it doesn't work if you don't have the mindset continually doing it. So how do you like keep that mindset? How do you stay grounded in that and keep moving forward every day? Because there's going to be shitty days. And then
Oh,
what?
yeah. Some reality is there might be more shitty days than good ones, but that's just life, right? You're speaking my language because this is the talk that I just had. Hopefully that is available currently, but it's the first leap is always the scariest. That's where the panic sets in is that first leap. But once we can get past that fear, amazing things happen. I use myself as a cautionary tale, which is why I'm so passionate about running towards, I call it running towards the roar and going towards the things that are scary because I failed speech class 3 times in college, and I spent the next, 10, 15 years running from that reality of that's something I can't do. And lo and behold, it's literally what I do for a living today. Because a lot of times the big scary beast that's in front of us is blocking the path to exactly where we need to be. It's any of the stories in popular culture. It's usually the thing that's blocking your way. It's keeping you from where you should be. For me, it was I can't speak publicly. There's no way. And now I'm almost like a junkie when I get in front of a stage of a lot of people. I'm like, oh, I need a fix. And that to me was my journey. So I use that as a cautionary tale. And that is always how I reframe new things that give me pause or worry or make me nervous. I go, remember that one time that you were terrified to do X? Look how that turned out. Imagine if the next thing I'm scared of turns out to be half as impactful as that. we'll be in a really great place because the ability to get on stage and speak and share a message has changed my life. And I fought it for 15 plus years. So imagine if the next thing that's scary, I just run right towards it. What would my life look like? And I think that's a beautiful place to be. And acknowledging that I may fail, I may skin my knee, I may stub my toe, or whatever analogy we can make up. It may go sideways, and that's okay because I'm going to learn a lesson. And it's not an end, it's a redirection. And that redirection is a good thing. So looking at these failures as the only positives can come from it. I know it's hard in the moment, but looking at these failures as we got to take something good out of this, it really makes it a much easier pill to swallow to leap into the unknown, as I say.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a, but did you die? It's
But
no,
did you die?
it worked out. I really hope for everyone out there, if I could wish one thing, is that they have that person that like just pushes them and sees more in them than they see in themselves. And that's such a amazing role to play for someone. And yeah, I wish every person could have that because it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the foundation for the days where you don't really have the strength, or that inner critic is talking a little bit louder than they normally do, or you're feeling a little bit nervous because I say this all the time, my inner voice is an asshole. So sometimes I have to put him in his place, but sometimes I need a little bit of help and I need somebody else, a tag team partner, to step in and say, hey, listen, you know what you're doing, or at the very least, you feel really passionate about what you're doing, and passion can take you a really long way. So it's being able to put the right people around you and the right systems to help keep you out of these danger zones that we fall into sometimes, especially with that inner voice. That critic is something serious.
Oh yeah, mine's a real bitch too. So I get it. All right, Corey, this has been so much fun. And thank you so much for joining me. I have loved this conversation. I think I could have you on 10 more episodes. We could talk
Deal.
about this for another whole entire day. But I want to give everyone else a chance to find you online. I'm sure they're all going to want to talk to you too. So if anyone wants to look you up, where should they go?
Well, of course, you can go to the superhero mindset.co. That is .co. You will see me most often on LinkedIn. I think we've talked about it a couple times. I'm trying to be the mayor of LinkedIn is my goal. So I show up on there every day. I rarely miss a day. So definitely you can find me on LinkedIn as Cory Charles. You'll notice my name because it has a lightning bolt at the end. And on all the other socials, I am King Charles. You'll see me quite frequently on the other socials as well. But if you want the free sauce, I give away all the goodies on LinkedIn for sure.
That is true. LinkedIn is like the place to be lately. It's awesome. I remember when LinkedIn was not cool, and I'm really glad that it's cool again because it is like a wealth of knowledge.
If you're
Um,
scrolling and you're not sure you found me, just scroll and then you'll see like a yellow suit, purple suit, pink suit, blue suit. Okay, that's the one. Found him.
Yep, that's a good one. All right. Anything else you want to tell the people about? Anything exciting coming up? Anything? You had your TED Talk, so that's got to be like the biggest thing. But anything else? Anything else you want the people to know?
Well, just a snapshot of who I am. I walked off stage for my very first TEDx and I was very excited. And then within 10 minutes, I was in my notes app writing the title for my second one. So I'm on the hunt for my second TEDx because I think there's a lot more in the tank to give. And this is top secret. So it's probably going to be first to your viewers, but the book is coming soon. So we're in the throes of it. So the book will be out soon. I'm hoping for, I'm going to hold myself to the fire. I'm hoping to get it rocking this year. Hopefully mid to late summertime, we should have something concrete and out there for the world. I'm hoping to get that out there and really just get in as many rooms and stages as I can to help people be great.
That's so exciting. My microphone really doesn't like it when I do high pitched squeals, but that's what I want to do about your book because that's so exciting. I will be on that like pre-order list for sure.
Much appreciated.
Thank you so much. And we will definitely be looking out for those things. So, any final words for everyone? My final words would be for anyone that is doing it scared right now, just do that first step today. I don't like to copyright infringe, but just do it is like the best slogan ever. So, Nike, just do it. So, what about you? Let's end.
I
I'll give
appreciate that if you're going to copy infringe, just pick one of the biggest brands in the entire world. I love that. Let's go all the way.
for sure.
I will follow your lead. Let's go down on this sink and ship together. As I said in my probably now published TED Talk, Leap, Fail, Grow, LFG. I know we use LFG for other phrases, but for me, it is Leap, Fail, Grow. Don't be afraid to take the big, bold leap. Be willing to fall flat on your face because sometimes that happens, but make sure you grow out of the entire situation and understanding that sometimes you have a plan to take the leap on three and life's going to push you out on two. So be ready to take the fall and understand that good things are happening, and it's rarely is it fatal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much. And I always do awkward outros, and I've been watching The Office lately. So I'm going to catch you on the flippity flip, just like Michael Scott. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.